After looking at the division quiz that both classes took yesterday, I noticed that division still is a problem for many of the students. So I'm going to work through a few of these problems with you, but we're going to look at this a different way. As you can see, this slide is divided into two sections. Here is the division problem, and here is writing it in working form. But we're going to add this side here where we're really thinking and making visible our thinking and what this division actually is telling us to do. So I have 1,250 divided by 50. What this really means is how many groups of 50 are in 1,250? That answer is going to be the quotient that you're going to have. And over here, I have the division already worked out. 50 goes into 125 two times. 2 times 50 is 100. Multiply back, subtract, bring down. And I have 25, I bring down the 0. 50 goes into 250 5 times. Multiply back. 5 times 50 is 250. Subtract, and there's nothing left. You have 0. Your divisor in this division problem is 50. The dividend is 1,250. So part of the confusion that I saw was when you have your statement written this way, which number is your divisor and which number is the dividend? Well, this is telling you you want to find out how many groups of 50 are going to go into 1,250. And one way to think of it is your divisor is going to be on the right-hand side. The dividend is going to be on the left-hand side. So that's a visual clue that you can use. But we're going to practice rewriting that statement and saying how many groups of whatever your divisor is are in your dividend. And once we have those answers, we're going to plug it into this sentence frame that you'll be using. After reading for understanding, that's what this does here. Reading this expression for understanding. And rewriting the division statement with a divisor of 50 and a dividend of, I thought I had put those here, so I'm going to write them in. A divisor of 50 and a dividend of 1,250. I have 25, this is your quotient, 25 equal groups of 50 in 1,250. Okay, so your quotient shows you how many equal groups of what you divided by, or your divisor, are in your dividend. Okay, so we're going to work through a couple of more together, and then you're going to get individual problems. Each group is going to get an individual problem, and you're going to follow this format in really restating and thinking about what your problem is, what the division problem is asking you to do. So here we go with the next one. And I have 4,530 divided by 25. Write your expression in working form. So I have 25, and I'm going to divide that into 4,530. So let's come over to the restating side. What this really means you're looking for how many equal groups of 25 are in 4,530. Your divisor is 25. Your dividend is 4,530. So we're going to come over to this side, and I'm going to look at 25, and I'm going to look at 45. 25 goes into 45. Well, if I had 45 cents, how many quarters would I have? And I would have 1. So I'm going to then multiply back. 1 times 25 is 25. I'm going to subtract. 5 subtract 5 is 0. 4 subtract 2 is 2. 20 is less than 25. I'm going to bring down the 3. If I have $2.03, how many quarters do I have? Well, I have 8. And if I have 8 quarters, I have $2. Okay, now I'm going to subtract. 3 subtract 0, that's 3. And the rest of these are zeros. I don't have to write them down. So I'm going to come down to bringing down my last number, and that's a 0. So 25 goes into 30. Well, if I have 30 cents, I have 1 quarter. And 1 times 25 is 25. Subtract 5. And again, look at the renaming. I have 0. Can I take 5 away from it? Well, if I don't have anything, I can't take 5 from it. So I'm going to rename this 3, borrow 1, make this a 10. Now, 10 subtract 5, I have 5. 2 subtract 2, there's a 0. I have a 5 remaining. I can either write this as a fraction, or I can write it as a decimal. And I'm going to write it as a decimal. So I'm going to add a decimal point, add a 0, and I'm going to bring this 0 down. 25 goes into 50 2 times. 2 times 25 is 50. Subtract, and I have 0. Okay, now coming over to our sentence frame. After reading for understanding, again, when you read the expression, you're reading for understanding, and rewriting the division statement with a divisor of 25 and a dividend of 4,530, I have determined that there are 181 and 2/10 equal groups of 25 in 4,530. So again, when we're restating this expression problem for division, we are looking for how many equal groups of 25 are going to fit into this number. So the 25 is your divisor. The 4,530 is your dividend. Okay, so now let's try one more together. And there is a division problem of 3,486 divided by 12. So that's the problem that we're given. We're going to restate that problem. What this really means is, how many equal groups of 12 are there in 3,486? 486. And my divisor is 12. And my dividend is 3,486. Okay, now at this point, I want you to take out your math notebook and I want you to copy down the division problem, the expression here, write it in working form, and I want you to write this much of the right side in your math notebook. So this restatement, how many equal groups of 12 are in 3,486? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write that down. So I'm going to pause the video here and write this down, and then we're going to come back. You don't have to write the frame here. We're going to read this through together. And pause the video and begin copying this down. Okay, so you have this in your notes. Now, 12 is going to go into 36. Well, I'm sorry, 34. I'm going to think 12 times 3 is 36. 34 is less than 36, but it's really, really close. So I know this is going to go 2 times. 2 times 12 is 24. But I'm going to have a 2-digit number remaining. 4 subtract 4 is 0. 3 subtract 2 is 1. 10 is just 2 away from 12. 34 is just 2 away from 36. So I know that my number in the quotient is correct, and I know that my subtraction is correct. 10 is less than 12, so I'm going to bring down the 8. And you are working this out in your notes as well. So when I'm writing it here, you're writing this in your notes. You're working along with me. Now, I have 12 and 108. And I'm going to think, what number would 12, how many times would 12 go into 108? What do you think? Talk with your table groups quickly, 30 seconds. And let's go with green 3. If you're sitting in the green group and you're number 3, what number? And if you said 9, good job. 9 is correct. 9 times 12 is 108. I'm going to subtract 0, but I still have a 6. So I'm going to bring the 6 down. And 12 goes into 6. Well, it doesn't. So I know I want to continue this as a decimal. So I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0. I'm going to bring that 0 down. And 12 goes into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. And your remainder is 0. Now we're going to go to our sentence frame. After reading for understanding and rewriting the division statement with a divisor of 12 and a dividend of 3,486, I have determined that there are 29 and 5/10 groups, equal groups, of 12 in 3,486. Okay, now that was our structured practice, working together using our restatement and using the sentence frame to report on what our answer was. So now, here is the next problem. I want you to write this in your notes, and I want you to write the restatement in your notes. Plug in how many equal groups of 15 are there in 7,942. And do your division, and then we're going to check back in. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video here. Work together in your groups to find your answer for this, and then we'll check back in a few minutes. Okay, so here we go. You should have divisor of 15 and dividend of 7,942. And 15 goes into 79. That's going to go 5 times. Okay, and 15 times 5 is 75. Subtract, you have 4, and bring down the 4. 15 is going to go into 44. Well, I know 15 times 2 is 30. 30 and another 15 would be 45. So that's going to be too high. But again, it's going to be really close. But it's still going to go only 2 times. 2 times 15 is 30. I'm going to subtract. 4 subtract 0 is 4. 4 subtract 3 is 1. I'm very close to 15. I'm only 1 away. 44 is only 1 away from 45, but it's still less than 15. So now I'm going to bring down the 2. And 15 is going to go into 142. If you said 9 times, you're absolutely correct. 9 times 5 is 45. Carry the 4. 9 times 1 is 9 plus 4 is 13. Subtract. This is where you have to rename. You cannot have 2 subtract 5 and get 3. That doesn't work. And you can't subtract this way, going up. So you have to rename. Some of you had difficulty with renaming on the test. Okay, 12 subtract 5 is 7. And again, I want to write this as a decimal. So I'm going to put a decimal point. Add a 0. Bring down the 0. And 15 is going to go into 70 4 times. 4 times 15 is 60. Subtract. This is 0. 7 subtract 6 is 1. 10 is less than 15. I'm going to add another 0. 15 is going to go into 100 6 times. 6 times 15 is 90. And at this point, you're going to go, oops, got a repeating decimal. So we're going to end this here. Okay, we're not going to take it out any further. The 6 is going to keep repeating. So now we're going to use our sentence frame. After reading for understanding and rewriting the division statement with a divisor of 15 and a dividend of 7,942, I have determined that there are 529 and 46 hundredths equal groups of 15 in 7,942. Now, I'm going to give similar problems like this to you in your table groups, and you're going to work through them. You have several models in your notes now that you can refer back to. Remember to use your sentence frame here, and as soon as you get your page, then begin working together. Okay? Good luck.